We're going to have a great guest conductor for our November concert. Is going to be Kevin Rhodes. He's the music director of the Springfield Symphony, of the Traverse Symphony. He's conducted pretty much all the big opera houses in the world, in Berlin, in Paris. He just came back from a production of Swan Lake, does the Nutcracker there every year. So he's a really a conductor who's been around, and we can be very happy to have him here to join us. Beethoven Symphony No. 10 is, I think one can say, a hypothetical work. It all started with a student of Beethoven's who said that he had seen the score, that Beethoven had something in his hand that was supposed to be the Symphony No. 10. So ever since, people have been looking for the symphony. Is it Beethoven? Obviously not, but it's Beethoven sketches. So yes, it's 100% Beethoven, but what I find curious and interesting is that even though it's all Beethoven, you notice how hard and how much he worked from sketches. I think he probably had the similar problems that Brahms and all the other Romantic composers after his Ninth Symphony had. It's like, what do you do? What do you do after this Ninth Symphony? And I think Beethoven had exactly the same problem. So Yevgeny Sudbin is a pianist who was born in St. Petersburg, has international career going on, plays with all the big orchestras all over the world, and we're very happy to welcome him here with the Stanford Symphony. He's going to perform Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 3, a concerto that Beethoven composed for himself. It is a great vehicle for pianists to show virtuosity, depth, emotion, and I think it will be quite an event when Yevgeny Sudbin comes here to Stanford. Beethoven we always imagine as the grim guy who was not really social, who couldn't really communicate well, with the wild hair. He had a sense of humor, and his Eighth Symphony, which was parallel composed with the Seventh Symphony, is actually surprisingly upbeat. The Eighth kind of is like, oh, this little cute little Eighth Symphony, and it's very light for Beethoven. It has a lot of humor. It's very upbeat. And surprisingly, we always think that Beethoven put something of his own life into his symphonies, that he kind of infused it with his own personal fate. Here he did not, because the circumstances that he composed his Eighth Symphony in were actually also rather negative. You cannot hear it in the symphony. It's so upbeat from the first to the last note. It's almost, it feels like as if it's a step back from his Seventh Symphony. And here he goes almost back to kind of a Mozartian lightness and transparency. And so it shows us a different face of Beethoven. Stafylakis is a young Greek-American composer. He, as part of his thesis, actually wrote about heavy metal music. So he has a wide interest, and also his influences are, not narrow classical training, but he has really a lot of influences that you might be able to track down and hear in his music. Now, the piece that we are going to perform was composed in 2013. It's called Brittle Fracture. It is very accessible contemporary music. It is wonderful music, actually. It is music that whenever I do it, people feel like, wow, I did not expect that. I did not think that music by living composers could be that beautiful, could be that moving, could be this catchy. And that kind of makes me happy, because a lot of people have preconceived notion of what contemporary music is, and I always love composers who prove them wrong, and where people say, this was actually a really great performance.